A lot of PC gamers are playing ports of console games. Some of them are bad. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on gameranx, the 10 worst PC ports that nobody wants to remember. Number 10, because it is the most obvious one. It's Batman Arkham Knight. Oh, Batman Arkham Knight. You and your frame rate. You and your physics problems. You and your... What did they get right? Did they get anything right? And they didn't fix it, they just left it. They were like, yeah, it'll get better and be okay. That didn't happen. I mean, it had so many problems that just weren't there in the console. The console versions of this game ran so smooth and nice and were interesting and engaging and didn't fuck up in every possible way. Like I said, the Batmobile, it's so bad it's frustrating to even talk about still. I tried to play it on the PC. There wasn't any purpose in that. And here's the thing, like, it was one of those games where I was like, you know what, it's gonna be fine on every platform. Why not play it on the platform that's gonna yield the best experience? And that was not the right approach. Refunded that sucker. Got it on the PS4. Number 9, Tales of Symphonia, which is, by the way, a great game. There's a good reason why everybody would have been excited to play it on the PC, because anybody who likes that kind of game knows that Tales of Symphonia is a fantastic example of that kind of game. You ever seen a game that was locked at 720p on the PC? Well, the answer is definitely yes if you've played Tales of Symphonia on the PC. I fortunately avoided it. I had a friend who didn't, and I can't believe anyone who is in charge of making and marketing games for a company would allow this to go out. Some of the languages, hey, don't work in it. There's only 6 save slots, which, you know, makes perfect sense on the PC. It's got a terrible DRM. It literally makes a new executable of the program every time you start the game, which is ridiculous. Oh, and you know how it's locked at 720p? It's also locked at 30 frames per second, but apparently, with some tweaks, you can get around both and run it around a higher resolution at a higher frame rate. Why lock it? That's a question you'll actually hear in a lot of PC ports that are crap. Why lock the resolution and frame rate? Number 8 is Grand Theft Auto 4. In 2016, which was, 8 years after the game came out, they patched out a bunch of problems, including frame rate, specifically in that they added enhanced visuals that were a little bit beefy for the time. And while a lot of people said they were superb, who were running it on top-end systems, they weren't that great. Like, there were other games of the time that looked quite a bit better. But if you decided you were going to push the envelope and make those sliders go up, 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 no. Even with a good computer, no. It really, in a lot of cases, if you wanted it to run like the console version, it needed to look worse than the console version, which is bad. Number 7, remember the Dark Souls PC port? Yeah, it was so bad, they actually had to say out loud, in public, sorry, the PC port was rushed. And then they had to promise that the sequel would be a good experience. That's how bad the port was. It was one of the least optimized, really crap version of Dark Souls that modders basically had to clean up. From Software actually said this: for Dark Souls 2, we're developing on the PC from the beginning. We realize what PC games typically require, and I can assure you that the PC version of Dark Souls 2 will be a good PC experience for PC gamers. I think they wanted to make sure that you knew that they were thinking about PCs, because they weren't when they made the first port. It didn't run well. Number 6 is Nier Automata, which is one of the best games ever made, but they did some questionable stuff when they ported it. For instance, the texture's not so great. Also, instead of using 1080p, they stretched 900p because that makes sense on a thing like a PC, which, could essentially be any kind of hardware. There are a number of people that still complain about the fact that there has not been a patch to fix these issues either, to the point where a user named Chaldean made a mod called Fix Automata Resolution that not only fixes it so that you can use 1080p, it makes the frame rate jump from 30 frames per second to much closer to 60, and also does a bunch of optimization of Nier Automata's lighting and shadows. Also, Square Enix has said nothing about it. at all. So yeah, if these issues are ones that you need fixed for you, Chaldean's Far mod is where to go. Number 5 is Need for Speed Rivals, which basically is just an unplayable game at 60 frames per second. It's absurd and silly and looks like there's an earthquake happening. The gameplay is basically hard locked at 30 frames per second. If you do anything to change that, like unlock 60 frames per second, the game just runs twice as fast. All the physics are twice as fast, all the speed, all the animation, everything is just twice as fast. It just speeds the game up. It's absurd too. Number 4 is Saints Row 2, where the game was advertised at being able to be played in 16:9 at 60 frames per second, and that's not what happened. Saints Row 2 played at 4:3, which is full screen, and also looked a lot like an original Xbox game, as in most of the effects or anything atmospheric wasn't there. Hey, if you had a few extra cores in your CPU, the port could actually do the same thing that Need for Speed did, which is run much faster than it should, and it tended to run at under 20 frames per second on even the best systems. And get this, CD Projekt Red did the port, who obviously has gone on to not be terrible, but it is a bad port. Number 3 is Marvel Ultimate Alliance, which, if you remember, launched with some serious problems and they never got fixed. For instance, it was missing sounds, like a lot of the sounds for characters were just not there. I don't know whether or not it's because they just didn't include the sounds or because they screwed up the code, but it's there, that's how it works. There are sounds that are not there. Also, hey, like, you want to use a third-party controller? Well, some of them work, but not all of them. In fact, a good portion of them don't, because a very large number of people have reported controller mapping issues. The game isn't even buyable on Steam anymore. It may be for licensing issues, or it could be because the game was done so badly and people were just angry. Although, it's Activision, so my money is on the licensing issue as opposed to them feeling shame for how bad they did. Number 2 is Watch Dogs, which is not really a game that lived up to its original hype anyways. But hey, you want keyboard and mouse controls that don't work very nice at all? Oh, the graphics are fine, but that mouse movement. Oh, you need to change it. You need to turn off the mouse smoothing, because that mouse smoothing makes it feel like you might not have gravity. Although there's evidence of gravity all around you and people walking on the ground. However, you're just like, whoa, is this space? It's not space. It's Watch Dogs. And finally, number 1, Resident Evil 4. Although I don't love the original controller configuration, there's some pretty specific reasons why it was a bad port. Yeah, you know how when you play shooting games on the PC, you usually use a mouse? You couldn't in Resident Evil 4, which would, by the way, be a thing that would make me think the game would be a lot better, actually, but no. Also, the game's visuals were pretty sloppy. They released a patch to kind of significantly improve the game, but right off it was kinda not good. Oh, there's also mods to use the mouse in the game, which makes it a lot better on PC. The game is just so littered with charm, it's okay. Still bad port. In your opinion, what are the worst ports out there? Are they on this list, or have you found even worse ones? Leave us a comment, let us know, and if you like this video, click like. If you want to see more videos from gameranx, which we upload every single day, click the subscribe button, and do not forget to click the notification bell. As always, thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter @FalconTheHero, and we'll see you next time, right here on gameranx.